Hey, Cub fans! Thanks for joining us here on Randy Talks Cubs. Cubs beat the Pirates tonight, 7-2. A lot of good things to talk about. A lot of issues that really surfaced in tonight's game, and we'll go through all that. But before we get into the details of tonight's games, let's do a little bit of housekeeping. Some roster moves. Dansby Swanson has been placed on the 10-day disable list. He has a sprained right knee. And I'm going to look at this as possible good news because he has really been scuffling here recently over the last couple weeks. And as it turns out, he hurt that knee on April 25th against Houston, sliding in a steal attempt. So he's been trying to work through it, and it just got to the point where it wasn't getting any better. So they just shut him down. So it's been really kind of tough watching Dansby lately over the last couple weeks, hitting 209 with a 285 on base, 341 slug, and he just wasn't playing well. And there were some people, starting to talk about, his contract and what we're not getting, and I was starting to get worried about it too. Well, the good news is it looks like maybe he was hurt. And I mentioned that he was favoring his right knee a couple days ago. So Dansby is on the injured list. They're just going to let him sit for 4 or 5 days, then let him work back, and we'll see what happens. But we're going to be without Dansby. In a move to add, Seiya Suzuki has been activated. He did not play tonight, but I look for him to be in the lineup in some way, shape, or form very soon, if not tomorrow. And I wanted to get into that Dansby Swanson injured list. So let's say Dansby's going to be gone for 10 games. What are we going to do? Well, tonight they went Madrigal at second base, and late innings they moved Madrigal to third and brought Masterboni in. So basically are we going to run Nick Madrigal out to play second base over this next 2-week stint is the question. And the answer is I don't know, but there's been a lot of talk about a couple of players that are options, and the first is David Bote. And I know that David Bote has been a Cub forever. He's 31 years old. He's had some good times with us. He's in his last year of his 5-year, $15 million contract, and he's just toiling in Iowa. But he had a great spring, as you may or may not recall, and he's been playing well. So I looked his numbers up, and I found something that was not fascinating, but sort of interesting, like makes you raise your eyebrows. So David Bote's only played in 12 games. He had 2 home runs yesterday, 52 plate appearances, 46 at bats. He's got 15 hits. He's hitting .326 with a .404 on base. And guys, he's slugging .609, OPS 1,013. I don't get it, really. We've seen what David Bote can do. A hot David Bote will slug, and defensively he's really good. Here's how they've played him this year in his 12 games. He's played 2 games at shortstop, 3 games at third base, 3 games at second base, 3 games at first base, and he played a game in left field. He has 1 error. He made that at second base. So they've played him in 5 different positions. I can't get my head around what we're doing with David Bote. My question to you is, would you rather see Nick Madrigal at second base for the next 2 weeks or David Bote? Okay, me too. I just don't know. Now, problem is David Bote's not on the 40-man roster. Okay. So what do we have on the 40-man roster? We got Luis Vasquez, 24-year-old. He's raking. He's the shortstop that's been in the organization for 4 or 5 years, and many talked about him being our best defender. He's played 466 games at shortstop in the minor leagues for us, and the issue with him was he had no bat. He was a light-hitting, defensive-oriented player. So a great defender, no bat. Well, over the last year and a half, 2 years, he started to hit. So we've got this 24-year-old Luis Vasquez, phenomenal defender, plays short. He's hitting 296 with a 393 on base, and he slugs. Got a 444 slug, 836 OPS. Strikeout rate low at 21%. 266 innings at shortstop this year. His errors are a little high. He has 7. That's probably maybe 4 more than what we would hope. But I'll ask the same question. Are we going to run the next 10 games 2 a week with Nick Madrigal? And when we have possibilities of possibly having a look at Vasquez and or David Bodie somehow, I'm just confused by it. You know, Madrigal and Mastroboni now become integral in what we're looking at, and we've got some other options. So, I don't know. There's some things I'm scratching my head. It doesn't make any sense. They really like Nick Madrigal. I really don't. I don't see, and Mastroboni too. He's, on the surface, his skill sets look like they're pretty good, but he hasn't been able to produce anything. And I just don't think a championship team is going to be running Nick Madrigal out every day. I just don't think it fits. So we'll see what happens. But with the situation with Dansby, that made me want to go look. So I thought I'd find out what the options are that we have in-house, barring a trade. And those are two that came to mind. So we've got Dansby Swanson hitting 209. Ian Happ came into tonight's game hitting 225. With a 346 on base. And his 346 on base percentage is what's keeping him in the lineup currently. But because he's not slugging, 302 slug for an OPS of 648, just 1 home run. And, trying to get some production out of Dansby and Happ with the addition of Bellinger and Seiya, that's key. Dansby and Ian Happ being productive offensively is key. If we're going to win the division, if we're going to make a playoff run, we're not going to do it with Dansby and Ian struggling. So coming into tonight, that's what I was looking for. Ian Happ had a good night tonight, by the way. We'll get into that. So Dansby on the IL. Seiya's activated. Looks like they ran Madrigal out. I'm thinking Vasquez and or Bodie is in the availability somehow. And we'll just have to see what happens. Now, the other move, Tyone was scheduled to start tonight. He got bumped, and they moved everybody up. So Assad went tonight. Steele will be going against Skeens tomorrow afternoon. And Ben Brown came in and pitched tonight, which makes us really believe that Tyone's going to be – they just pushed him back to Sunday. So that's good news. Ben Brown pitching tonight. I think is good news. That means Tyone is going to be ready for Sunday. So that gets us up to date with some of the roster moves, some of the player movement that we've had here recently. So let's get to tonight's game. Cubs scored 1 in the first, 1 in the fifth, 1 in the sixth, and then they erupted a little bit for 4 runs in the 7th inning. 7 runs total, 14 hits, 3 walks, 5 strikeouts. So a pretty good offensive night. And the pitcher, that Jones kid that the Pirates threw, he was pretty good. I mean, he gave up the one run through the 5 innings, and he was pretty good. So between him and Skeens, they got a couple of guys that have some potential. We got our first run in the first with a Belli solo bomb in the first inning. We got another run in the 5th. Nico ripped a single. Belli doubled to right, and Nico ended up scoring on an E2. Had it not been an error, he would have been out. And Bellinger didn't get an RBI on the play. Nico tried to score. The throw beat him. The catcher had the ball in his glove and had Nico out by a good 4 or 5 feet. Nico slid by, got his hand on the ball somehow, and knocked it loose. So they gave an error to the catcher. So run scored, no RBI to Bellinger. Got another run in the 6th inning when Bush doubled, and Amaya had an RBI single. It's a sort of a CNI ground ball to right field for an RBI for Amaya. And then we got 4 runs in the 7th. Talk started off with a base on balls. Belli singled, got Talk to third. And then Morrell singled a broken bat flare to short right field to score Talk. Happ doubles Bellinger scores on that. Bush reaches on a fielder's choice, and Madrigal singles, scoring Happ, and scores Bush. Madrigal's single was a sort of a ground ball nubber just past the second baseman into right field. So it was nice to score some runs. 14 hits was good. So Nico went 1 for 5, scored a run. Talk went 1 for 3, walked twice, scored a run. Bellinger had a big night. Belli was 4 for 5 tonight. Home run, a single, and 2 doubles. RBI, scored twice. Christopher Morel offensively had a pretty good night. 2 for 5 with an RBI. Ian Happ went 2 for 5, double and a single. RBI, run scored. Bush went 1 for 5. 2 RBIs, had that double in the 6th, a score 2. Nice opposite field line drive down the left field line for Bush. Madrigal went 1 for 5. He had that little ground ball, CNI ground ball, scored 2. Amaya went 1 for 4. He had that RBI single in the 6th. It was a little nubber, but in the 4th inning, he hit a laser to center field. Baseball's, he hits a line drive right in the nose to center field, line out to center. Then his next at bat, little nubber, base hit, RBI. PCA had a decent night. He went 1 for 3 with a walk. Nice line drive single in the 8th, opposite field. I'm still liking him in the box. I know that his production hasn't been huge, but he still puts together good at bats. The thing that I noticed tonight, though, is when he gets on base, and he was on base twice tonight with the single and a walk, energy level rises completely. He gets on, and you could feel them. So it's like a rally starts when he gets on base, and he's the only player that we have on our roster that does that. So offensively, if you look at his line, it's not all that spectacular, but he's putting good at bats together, and I like the energy that he brings to the team. And when he gets on base, it's a rally. It's just the enthusiasm, the excitement, the anticipation rises dramatically, and he's played just solid defense in center field as well. So that's what everybody did tonight. Ups our record to 23-16. 7-2 is the final, and that's the offensive output. Let's talk about the pitching and some defense. I'll give you the bad news first. We kicked the ball around tonight. My God. We officially had 3 errors. I think we had 4. And the bad news is 2 of the 3 official errors were Christopher's, and the one that should have been was Christopher's. So we'll just talk about the errors. Christopher made an error on the very first batter. Kutch hit a ground ball, and he backed up on it, got a little squirrely, and tried to use his arm, and he just airmails this thing wide left. So error in the first inning. Morel had another error in the 4th. This time he didn't catch it. He dropped a ground ball. And then in the 5th inning, Reynolds hit left-handed. Morel was playing shifted over toward shortstop. Reynolds hit a pretty good line drive. He's lefty. It's probably tailing away a little bit. And Morel just didn't play it well. It short-hopped him, tried to backhand it, had no chance. They just ate him up a little bit. So they give him a single, but I'm like, a Major League third baseman is going to catch that ball. So Christopher Morel had a really bad night defensively, which is interesting because he had gone 25 games since his last error. So in that first inning, that was his first error since April 3rd. He ends up having 2, could have been 3, and I'm just hoping it doesn't go to his head. Bush had an error in the 2nd inning. Assad had a pickoff play on Taylor, and Bush dropped it. So Bush dropping a ball again. It's maybe this is it. That's what it's going to be. I guess we might have to get used to it. So let's talk about Javier Assad. Another great outing. Javier Assad came in with 7 starts under his belt, 1.66 ERA, 38 innings. He had 31 strikeouts, 12 walks, whip of 1.03, average against 201. And it was he didn't have his command early. And this is the good news. He wasn't sharp. at all. But he fought through errors and ends up with a line of 4 in the third inning, 4 hits, 2 runs, only 1 earned, walked 2, struck out 4, ERA up to 1.70 from 1.66 coming in, 89 pitches. So Assad didn't look that good. He had a really rough first inning. He needed 30 pitches to get out of the first. That first inning was wild. Gave up 2 runs. Just the one was earned because of Morel's error on McCutchen leading off. He walked 2. He struck out 1, gave up a hit, and had the error. So there was a lot going on in that first inning, and a lot of it had to do with not quite command. He just hadn't found his release point yet. The error really hurt him because he hadn't found it yet. It took him several batters before he started to hone in. So he gives up the runs in the first, gets out of the second, gave up a hit, had a strikeout, gave up a hit in the third to O'Neill Cruz. Fourth inning, strikeout, error, got out the inning on a double play. Fifth inning, he gets Kutch to fly out to PCA, and then Reynolds gets that single that Morel should have probably handled when they pulled Javier. So they pulled Javi with an out and a runner on in the fifth inning. So, it was the same stuff, sinker, cutter, four-seamer, all the classic Javier Assad. Didn't get rattled. That first inning was rough, but he came through it and pretty much had control the rest of the way. So Javier is fine. He had a really good outing. Probably the brightest spot was Ben Brown. Ben Brown came in relief of Javier with 1 out and a runner on first in the fifth, and O'Neill Cruz singles on him. So it's okay. He's got some traffic. He's got first and second, 1 out. He gets Tellez to pop up to infield fly rule, actually, to Morel, and he strikes out Nick Gonzalez, with the nastiest slider I think I've seen him throw. I mean, it was sick. Gonzalez had no shot, and he gets out of it. So it was like, okay, he announced his presence with authority, came in relief with a runner on, gave up a single, and then turned it up. Gonzalez didn't have a chance. He got Sawinski to strike out to lead off the sixth, gave up another base hit to Triolo, then gets Grandal on a pop-up to Bush, and he strikes out Taylor, and Taylor had no chance. He was overwhelming. He got Taylor on heat. It was that power slider of his was really nasty tonight. It had so much depth, and the Pirate hitters just had no chance. Well, I'm sure Taylor was looking for it, and he got heat and had no chance. Struck him out to get out of the sixth. In the seventh inning, he strikes out McCutchen, walks Reynolds, strikes out O'Neill Cruz, and gets Tellez to fly out to PCA. Eighth inning, strikes out Gonzalez again. Nick probably doesn't want to see any more of Ben Brown. Gets Sawinski on a little nubber out in front of the plate, so it goes 2-3. And then got to Triolo to ground out nicely to Nick Madrigal. Nick made a great play. Nick was in playing third base at the time, so Nick made a nice play to get Brown out of the eighth. So Brown goes 3 2/3, gives up 2 hits, 1 walk, 6 Ks. His ERA is down to 3.73, and he looked really good. Power slider, more depth than I've seen it, and his fastball was just gas tonight, overpowering. So he looked great. He ends up getting his first big league win tonight. And here on the RTC, I'm not a big win-loss guy with this example. Javier Assad was 2 out shy of qualifying for the win, so I'm not a big fan of the rules. But either way, Ben Brown got his first big league win tonight, so congratulations to Ben. Adbert came in and pitched the ninth inning, gave up. Adbert didn't give up any runs tonight, but he should have, probably given up 2. Grandal doubled, smoked a line drive off the right field wall. He gets Taylor looking, gets Kutch to fly out to Happ, and then, back up. Grand double to lead off, struck out Taylor, and then so runner on, and Kutch hit a line drive that Happ went back to the wall, jumped up. Happ stole a home run from Andrew McCutchen tonight. It was a great play. Jumped up. He actually was up above the wall a foot or two, and a Pirate fan actually hit him on the wrist. He fouled him. Happ got fouled on the stolen home run, but he caught it and saved Adbert from a 2-run home run. Boy, and we needed that. Not so much because of the score of the game, but just to get Adbert out of that. I mean, it's pretty obvious that council and the management is going to give Adbert chances, and to get him to get out of that inning without giving up that 2 runs, I think was big for his mindset. So I'm glad that happened. So that's where we are. Cubs win it. Take the first game of the series, 7-2. We've got entertaining game tomorrow. I understand weather's supposed to be questionable, but we've got a 4:05 local time first pitch, and it's Justin Steele against number 1 overall draft choice Paul Skeens making his major league debut. So that's just, baseball is so good, and a game like that is just extra special. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. So that's where we are. Big win tonight, starting off the series in Pittsburgh. We're 23-16, and we got Justin Steele going tomorrow. So we'll look forward to seeing that. Guys, thanks for joining us here on the RTC. Really appreciate it. Go Cubs, go.